What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It is your boy Ronnie Skelton II, back at it again with another video. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's scary times that we're in, folks. The fact that we're kind of basically in a world war, essentially by definition, with Ukraine's involvement now with the Iranian conflict and Russia getting with Iran. It's gearing up. The madness of the Trump administration. Let's be honest here, he's starting to be a dementia Joe Biden figure. He was, basically he showed his ass to the American people. Now that he's in the second term, he can basically jerk off and be with the tri-state elitists and the business plot types that are just going to milk the country as it's gasping for air during a time where, the United States isn't doing too good. People are getting hungry and getting mad. They can't enjoy a little bit of luxury. The dopamine fried system's making everyone hateful and aggravated. Everyone's pointing fingers somewhere, and it's just a dangerous time. And the sad thing is, like, even if you consider the Jewish question, and I've spoken about this, and I feel that it's quite unnecessary because I've on the record stated several times it's not a Jewish issue. It's a Hasidic nationalist, Chabad Lubavitch, radical international type. Okay, I don't have to keep explaining that, but I wanted to say that again for the algorithm. I don't mean all Jews, but let's be honest here. This cult wants the world united against Israel. That's why all of the great noticing nonsense is happening. I mean, I agree. I've studied the JQ for a very long time, and I mean way before it started getting popular again, talking about Johnny Gat, vigilante intelligence. This is some classic era shit, and even before then. But the fact remains that these people have essentially, and I blame both sides. Iran is a fucking crazy country that screwed over its people. Became a very radical fundamentalist, cabal. And both sides are fucking crazy. Let's be dead ass honest. Everybody's going for broke. Everyone's system's kind of gearing up for war because what do you do in these situations other than war? The people are so dopamine saturated. They have just enough irregardless to where they're barely even protesting. I mean, sure, you got these radicals that every so often that try to shoot. And you gotta wonder if they're a psyop. Talk about one of the would-be Trump assassin having the would-be assassin basically had BlackRock in its school. What's up with that? But the point of all of this, what I'm saying is there's likely going to be an escalation to where I don't predict that there's going to be enough to do a full-out mutually assured destruction nuclear war. I do think there's a certain threshold that normal-ass people will take. And if it looks like it's going to get something more severe than maybe, and I mean maybe minor scale, the weaker nuclear exchanges that are tipped on missiles, nothing like the real big damaging nasty bomb stuff. But I feel like even then, the people will take it into their own hands. I know that in Russia right now, Putin is not popular. Despite Alexander Dugin types always, hyping him up through social media. The United States, Trump has basically went to being in your face about being a corrupt billionaire social elite with his tri-state cronies, Chabad Lubavitch, and Israeli interests. He is completely bought out. Don't let anyone fool you. The ego shit may be real about Donald Trump, but he went in $4 billion, I think $2 billion each, personal and financial debt within that casino venture alone. And you can think, well, Ronnie, he got it out of crypto. You got $1 billion out of crypto. What does that really mean? It's like, well, you remember they said that he's worth more alive than dead. Think about the time when he was in trouble for that casino. People don't realize that he was bought then and there. Why do you think all of his people are connected to the same Jewish real estate elites, like Kushner and them? All of them are bought and owned little Trump bloodline, sycophants for the same system. And they're radicals, and Trump is now appearing to be in Joe Biden land on top of all of that. So you probably have more of a rogue deep state military apparatus in the strictest sense operating right now, and it doesn't pay that, there's a lot of rabid Zionists still in Congress, in the House and Senate, and within the military, even though the newer generations are doing a greater effort to stop being that, basically. And basically, I think there will be, though. I do think that there will be a small nuclear exchange because of these radical Europhile networks and their disputes between East and West Europe. They have their own qualms and issues with each other, and I think that it's going to do that. And I think that it's all part of the plan to integrate all of these technologies. I spent a good amount of time on several videos discussing the quantum edge age and the technologies that are just available and they've openly talked about having. I mean, I wanted to go into the 7D hologram, like the whale at the school, having the sensory, and I'll do a red pill video on this, but it's like, they have the way for you to feel a hologram. I just wouldn't be surprised if Apple just releases some form of augmented technology. I mean, Meta's working on it. They're all gearing you towards not the VR, because they're learning that, VR is a gimmick a lot with kids, certain people who like VR chat and those type of things, and that's made headway for that endeavor, but it's going to be in the holographic surface network. Their Li-Fi technologies, light Wi-Fi, basically, out of light particles and the photons. And basically, they're gearing up the structure. I mean, you should really look into my Quantum Edge Age video talking about the holographic technology and where it's just at. We got to talk about the Neuralink and all of the things that involve with the CBDCs, the cryptocurrency system. They need a catalyst, right? The UFO community have people talking about I knew, like, Luis Elizondo, the guy who came out as a whistleblower during To the Stars Academy, as one of the heads of the UFO division. Basically was like, look, there's going to be a 9/11 style event. Other people start talking about this same catalyst. Another thing revolving around 2027-ish, this weird theory that the CIA and everyone has came out, people from them and said, like, look, something is going to be a catalyst around this time. I mean, it's 2026. The United States has, it's passed a little ways, but the United States Pluto return. Okay, right now we're in a Saturn return, and I go back. I do it on Vedic. Western astrology, I feel, does not do astrology justice. If you know your birth time to the very time of your birth, maybe on your birth certificate, you should definitely try to crunch those numbers into either an AI or a service. And I mean, it's free. You just got to know where to go. And basically, that's more accurate. But these are trying times, ladies and gentlemen. And basically, the world they want with like the Davos types is like dopamine fried, more than the doom scrolling terminally online people that we are now. It'll be 10 times worse. The AI will become more enhanced. They'll get the sex waifus, the little robots, and that'll be a big to-do at the time. And people will just be miserable like they are now, but 10 times worse. Because I just don't see, after like the World War process and everything, everyone starts to, shift their lands. I mean, you got to consider the Yalta Conference when we're speaking about, who everybody's gearing up to fight against. China's, the U.S.'s big bad opponent right now. Russia's doing the Ukraine thing. UK probably eyeing some land, let's be honest here. I mean, if you really consider the Yalta Conference, now I know that the Soviet Union didn't do a lot to uphold what they were going to do, but, a lot of things are still mimicking that initial Yalta Conference. But, basically the holographic interface and Neuralink technologies, it'll be as if you will feel it, like you'll feel the waifu. It'll get degenerate like that, and for women too. You'll feel it. It don't have to be just a robot like you think it does. There's like the technology that's available, the haptics and all of the somatics that it can interact with. I just think that, people are not ready for truly to have basically holographic waifu. Or if you had a lot of people think they'd reject it, like some I don't want serial experiments lame. Let's be honest here. I don't want to hook up to it like the Matrix. I don't want to be Sinji. I'm not getting in the damn Ava, but it's like, you'd be surprised. There's a lot of people who hate who they are. There's the incel epidemic. It's a real problem for those men, and I feel bad for them. Being people that's just unfortunately too ugly. I feel that shit. I get them because I observe. And I see the truth in what they be saying sometimes. I don't think that their hatred for women is completely justified, but they're in a position where they're the ones that simply are not the benefactors right now of a selection where there's no restrictions. Let's just be honest here, where it's on demand like Tinder and everything else, where human interaction no longer matters. And that's going to play a big part too. The divide in people, the fact that there's this already declining birth rates. And this is all caveating that, say the UFO stuff doesn't pan out to be right now. Because just because they're doing the UFO disclosure stuff, we got our copium, we got our hope fuel, because I've been waiting for it myself. But realistically, are they really about to pull that out? We have our hopes up for it. Some people think it's a deception. Some people, like me, I don't think there's I don't think there's a need to even have a UFO deception. Although I think that the aliens or ultra terrestrials or whatever they are will lie to us based on all the information I'm given. But that remains to be seen. It's like they don't have to tell us the truth. And of course, everyone who've watched me a little bit more than just this video, my opinions on the human race being a stock flock humans, and it's sad, but it's the truth, I think. And you can watch my other videos on that. But what do you guys think? Be sure to like and subscribe wherever you are at. Comment down below wherever. But yeah, I think that basically we're in for a lot of bullshit, but. It is all dependent upon how much the consent of the people, ladies and gentlemen. What would you be personally willing to put up with? You could right now rise up and start an attack on the Capitol, and you'd be surprised at how that could snowball into the favor of the people and win. I'm not saying to do that for the record. You would just be surprised how quickly the bureaucracy would fold. In a real situation. The military is not on board with just slaughtering a bunch of innocent of their own. They're not at that level like some of the elites wanted it. That's a hard sell. It's always going to be, but, the things they've tried to sell for their useful idiots, like, I just think that, but people will put up with a lot of corruption and bullshit. They've allowed the Epstein. They've allowed these people, I take blame. I got in my own trouble over law enforcement over my comedy Twitter shit and SoundCloud over a fucking decade ago. And it was promotional to be a protest just to expose bare minimum context with a flavor of a villain. And that got me real far. I got a felony record. I socked dude. It went away because the threats, because it wasn't real. But you know what I mean? Like we have allowed this syndicate of peoples, these bloodline married corporate titan elites that are heavily documented, to bamboozle and heist all of the resources and production from all of mankind. And we have allowed ourselves to become dopamine fried matrix loosh batteries, basically. And you don't even need like mystical archons for that context, although you can argue that, sure. But we will allow certain things, but I don't think we would allow the full context of a mutually assured destruction. I think that peoples on all sides would at some point try to create a coup d'etat in the military. Perhaps a call to action would quickly begin, and there would be a worldwide dismantling of power. And I think the elites know that. So I think they're still going to try to push for a bit of that, to shake things up for their dopamine style, keep everyone fried, and now with holographic, you can feel it, bro, technology. on the crypto blockchain, and you're basically dopamine fried more than you realize. I mean, have you seen some of that brain organoid technology they're working on? And it's finding a base level of feeling about it that was not precedented. I can't remember the exact terminology, but it's in the beyond. It's been moved up and its own functions. Like, it became a thing that some scientists are concerned about. AI brain organoids, creating the spider organoid and so forth. But, it's going to be hell like that. You'll have pets like that. You'll have AI-powered robotic pets. You might clone the one that dies on you while they're doing it, and for a lesser price than it is now. Because if you didn't know that, you can clone your pet. And I've made videos showing that. So, basically, the fact remains that we're going into a dystopian hell because I think that we will allow it. I don't hear too many content creators putting the blame on themselves and others. There's always the they, and even if there is a they, when are we going to actually make a difference other than just doing the minor disagreements in our echo chambers? There's not enough people to do political action, and people won't get violent unless they're hungry and they don't have any sort of dopamine fixation, which may be in the works, may not be. But if we allow these people to continue to be corrupt oligarchs like we are right now, knowing all the information on the internet that like the Moon guy and other people who research, and if you ain't seen anything yet, I don't know how you're even watching me. So, it becomes a matter of how much are you willing to put up with. Because right now, at this given time, no matter what side you are on, left, right, in between, you're being told you're not going to get the Epstein files the way you want it. You're not going to get the UFO files the way you want it. You're not going to get any files like you really want them unless and it's like, what are you going to do about it? And then well, maybe we'll give you some UFO. Maybe we'll give you some Epstein. But then they'll still do it, and they'll still commit to the cover-up because they're all damn near in on it. It's all a fucking WWE show. AOC is with, what's his name? I think homosexual in disguise, Ted Cruz. All these other types, they're back eating, fried steak, Chardonnay type shit behind the scenes, and they don't care. And the mainstream media still does their game, and the alternative media used to tell you that until the Trump game, I personally believe, bought out the alternative media all-stars. And that's unfortunate. So yeah, people, I just think that we're in for a hellish time, and I would opt out on a lot of it. I mean, don't just give up on opportunity, but it's going to be a hell. And if you think it's all bad now, you really don't understand what they're currently capable of. And you should watch my other videos on my channel to definitely check that out and see for yourself, and you can do your own research. So be sure to like and subscribe wherever you are at, and of course you can find me on my new URL revamp. I'm no longer going by the King Majora Project. It is just my name, Ronnie Skelton II, lnk.bio, RONNIESKELTONII. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. I will see you all next time.